Hello, friends. This is Chandrakant from Akul Mac Technologies, and I welcome you all on today's edition of Germany Blaine's Live. And today is a very special day because we have an exclusive presentation by Mr. Jeremy Blaine about the emerging trend, which may be valid with regard to leadership and the new landscape of business for the decades to come. So, without wasting any further moment, let me welcome Mr. Jeremy Blaine.
Good morning, CK from the UK. How are you?
Yes, I'm good, and we are in Delhi, so it is as cold as London, probably.
It is.
So we don't have frost here, but I think you're going to heat the environment by really talking about what you're going to present in your report, which you're bringing exclusively for our viewers.
That's right. It is an Aquamac exclusive today. I have just, with another business partner, completed a global piece of research on the emerging leadership traits and skills for tomorrow, today, particularly looking at the decade ahead. We've gone through enormous transformation and change. We've talked about this in our discussions over the last few weeks, CK. Digital transformation, workforce transformation, ways of working. That was before the pandemic. And now the pandemic hits. We've got the business imperatives front and center. How do we get back on track? But how do we bring our people along with us when we also still have new competition coming? We're not sure how the economy is. So much hitting leaders. And really it needs something to give leaders a roadmap for the way ahead. And we felt that the time was right to do some research. So we looked across 4 regions and 27 countries, including India, as it happens. I'll pull out a little bit of data today. Almost 2,000 leaders, but also within that as well, we interviewed employees. So we brought in the leadership perspective as well as the employee perspective to give us an idea of not just what the challenges are, but how leaders are doing and what needs to happen differently over the next decade, but starting now.
I think this is a very important subject, because there is a lot of confusion in the field. People don't know what steps to take, and especially the leadership, they don't know which direction they have to steer their organization. So I think your work and your assessment would be very, very important and valuable. I mean, if your research can give a little bit directions to the leaders, specifically in Asia Pac, it will be very good.
Yeah, well, it's very interesting that you say that, because I will pull out this very first piece of data is that it is clear that leaders in the Asia Pacific, across Asia Pacific, so if I look from India to the Pacific, are most prepared in the world for tomorrow and are ready to do things differently. And in terms of the top 10 countries in Asia Pacific, India within our survey, we're at number 5. So making progress, getting up there and more enlightened. What's interesting for me, I'm calling you, of course, from the UK here. It's interesting for me, the 3 key areas that were really struggling at the other end of the scale was the territories in Africa that we surveyed, territories in the Middle East we surveyed, but specifically the UK. Least prepared, but that comes with a very big Brexit effect, as much as the effects of what's impacting leaders that I've talked about before. So actually some real challenges for people, but the Asia century has really begun, which was a term coined by the Financial Times last year, and I really subscribe to it. In fact, the top 3 challenges when we asked leaders in our survey, what are the top 3 sort of 5 challenges that you have over the next decade, particularly as we start in 2021, post pandemic, he said, hopefully, was the first one was keeping up with the pace of change, which is fairly obvious because that is ever accelerating. And the pandemic has been a further accelerator into that. The second was attracting and retaining appropriate talent. And when we went deeper into that, leaders have started to realize that talent does not just mean your permanent employees. It means those independent workers who will increasingly be part of your workforce, and therefore who are the highest value that need to impact your company. We've not particularly formalized that process. That was the second. The third was enabling the business to operate in the digital era while maintaining the human touch. So what are the tools that we need, the appropriate technologies to fuel the business, to drive greater collaboration and communication across all of our people, whether they be permanent employees, independent employees, stakeholders everywhere in the business, customers, partners, you name it. And then the final two really that came out within the top 10 and within actually the top 5 were leaders starting to acknowledge that they needed to upskill for the times that we're in. They recognize that traditional leadership skills, while really valuable, are not just what they need anymore. They need a new suite of skills for tomorrow, which give them the power and understanding of, for example, how to manage data effectively, how to work in more agile ways for them and their organization. And then within all of that, the final piece that came out from the leadership from a key challenges perspective were the balancing needs of all of the different stakeholders, which were now part of the mix that they had to manage, not just shareholders, not just the executive board, but it is customers, partners, it's workers, it's workforce, it's also community, which was a strong part that came out of it. Those were the top challenges, CK, that came through initially.
Jeremy, you have put it very nicely. I think to get to the direction in which the entrepreneurs must take the next steps, I think which way the industry is going is, you have to understand very well. So I think you rightly pointed out that the transition is happening, and a lot of industries have to look at transition in a very big way. For example, if there is a hospitality industry, which is a very big industry in the areas where our tourism is the main source of income. There are few pockets in India, there are few pockets everywhere, and I think these entrepreneurs who are very big in this arena have to relook at their strategy, what they have to do. Similarly, entertainment industry. I don't think there is any new movie. Have you seen any new movie lately? I mean, I don't see anyone releasing any movie. So I think that is also one big change people have to look at. I think the biggest change would be in the arena of production, because and the advertising further. How do you promote your items which you are producing? All that is now undergoing a tremendous change, and people have to realize where the industry is going. So my pointed question to you would be specifically to these areas which are very badly affected, like entertainment, hospitality, airlines, tours and travel. What is your specific advice? Maybe you want to give it now, or maybe you want people to come to your report to see it in a complete picture. But if you can throw some light, it will be great.
Well, we do have actions that we recommend actually, but I will let people read the white paper, and I've given you the link to our webpage. This is not going to be released until sort of later this week, but I've given you the link where your viewers and network can see it first as an exclusive. And also, I'm going to be doing a web event in about 2 or 3 weeks' time with Paul Marks, who was my partner in this research, where we're going to go into it in a little bit more detail and talk very specifically about the actions. So we can provide that link so people can register. It's just an Eventbrite too. However, I totally agree with you. There are some industries which are really suffering, some, of course, which have done very well. Let's not forget during this as well. So there's a huge shift with what's happening. And I think at the end of it, you mentioned entertainment. I did actually go and see Tenet at the movie theater, but it was a very eerie experience. There was a whole ring around us of seats, and it was just not the experience that I wanted. And so, what are they going to do? Because they're losing money hand over fist. So from a leadership perspective, there are two key things that are happening here. The first is that they have short-term business imperatives, which are driven by survival, which are trumping everything. They have to get back on track. They have to think about what they're doing. Fortunately, some more enlightened governments in the world are putting together schemes whereby they're paying a certain percentage of their workforce's salary for a number of months, often called a furlough scheme. Others are kind of struggling themselves. But the other end of the scale, which really comes straight into our research, is that there's a very, very strong need for a new brand of leadership, because it is not just the leaders who have challenges. It is everybody that works for them who are worried, who don't know if they're going to have a job tomorrow, don't know if they're going back to work. Yes, they may be furloughed and being paid a salary, but they're at home. They've got a balance. You don't know what their home life is like. So we know that there are mental health issues, well-being issues, which are growing as well at the same time. So what was quite interesting that came out of the research was, if there is one big headline that came out, was the need to usher in a new age of human-centered leadership. That was absolutely number one. And at the top of that list was leaders demonstrating far more empathy. So if you track that against what we've just been talking about around some of those industries, leaders have a headache around their business. They don't know what the future looks like. And yet they're having to really, really think about how they interact with their people, because the very best leaders who are coming through this are the ones that have demonstrated the greatest empathy within the greatest challenges as well to their people, and the people will remember it. So this is, if you think about the challenges I talked about for leaders, number 2 was attracting and retaining talent. Now, if leaders demonstrate the great empathy-centered leadership through this pandemic that their employees and stakeholders can really get behind while trying to protect the business in very uncertain times, they will emerge as the ones who will be the most attractive leaders for employees everywhere looking. So of those traits coming through, those more human-centered traits coming through, I talked about empathy. The next one is being a master communicator. The next one is also living and breathing the transformation that needs to happen in the company, even if it's adopting remote working for the longer term. They need to be able to walk the walk as well as talk the talk. The more enlightened leaders are acknowledging they need new, different skills. So if I think of some companies like Citibank, for example, they are practicing actively reverse mentoring. They're bringing in their millennial workforce into the boardroom, and they're saying, you need to help us. How do we integrate the most appropriate technologies to help us here? So that's really key. So actually the things that the worst leaders are doing from a pandemic response. So let's go back to your question as well. Let's say there are leaders who are really worried about business survival, and they can't see beyond that. They're not able to see what everybody else is going through. And the number one challenge and the number one factor, which employees who are responding to us find the most negative trait, was the pandemic response, a poor pandemic response. Poor communication, focus on the short term, but also they see their leaders being overwhelmed by multiple pressures and priorities. In fact, to the extent that through the survey, what became very clear was that employees were seeing a narrowing gap between their capability and the capability of their leaders. So in some of those industries, for example, in particularly hospitality that you mentioned, employees are starting to stand up and say, give us a chance to help you, because we can also do things at our level which are beyond our job description, but also will help you with the health of the business and the future strategy. So they're forcing an age of empowerment, which of course the more enlightened leaders are embracing, because they think that, and they feel that this more collective approach to business help, short-term business challenges, long-term maneuvering and navigating of the business is best shared. And you've got some fantastic people in the business to do that with. So there's a few things that came out of it specifically for that, CK.
I'm sure your report is very, very enlightenment based, and the leaders of today need to access your report and get the ideas driven out from that, because I think you have done a very wide survey. You have studied a lot of variety of businesses, in variety of countries. So I think in today's environment, it's really a global village we live in. Your report will be very valuable for the viewers and the leaders who are watching this program. And I think there is as much discussion we can have. It's not sufficient. So I think it's best to do reading on the about the report. So we will publish that link so that people can access the report and maybe also join your webinar, which is going to be planned in 1 week's time. That may be very valuable for the viewers.
Yes, thank you. And I would say that when you go to my webpage, one thing that I would recommend doing if you just want to snapshot any of your viewers is that just scroll down a little bit of the page and you'll see that there is a press release. That press release is kind of like an executive briefing. The white paper itself that we've produced is a very robust piece of work. We pull in case studies and emerging best practices from companies all around the world, which we put together with the data that have come out to provide kind of a roadmap of the very best things, but also some of the things to avoid. As well as at the end of the report, we have produced a number of actions and a brand new model, the Enlightened Leader model, whereby we bring all of these together. In fact, the three components of this, as I mentioned, it's human-centered leadership as number one, community-centered leadership, which is thinking about your internal community of your people, but also the communities within which you serve, where you're based, and your impact on society as a whole. And the third element, of course, is the business-centered leadership. So these are things like adopting agile, data-driven decision-making, speed of action, technology-enabled, new leadership skills for tomorrow. So it's all there. And in fact, later on today, probably if you give us about an hour, there'll be a video introduction on that page as well from myself and Paul Marks, who's my partner in this. Just 5 minutes explaining what we did and some of these headlines. But thank you, CK, for sharing those links as well. I'm sure your audience will find it very interesting when they start getting into the detail.
Certainly, because it's a need of the hour. People are very confused. They have to adapt to the new environment, and a person like you, who's a marketing guru, can tell them, show them the way. It'll be very good. So I will leave the link in the description below. And I will also urge viewers to subscribe to Germany Plain, because in next 1 hour, he's going to come out with a small introductory video with his partner, Mark. So with that, we can end the discussion today, Jeremy.
Thank you very much, CK, for having me again. And I trust this is of great insight and interest to your audience.
Certainly. So I will catch up with you in the next episode of Germany Plain Live. Until then, bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.